we are joined with Frank Reynolds, or one more time for the audiences to hear. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
This is Kyle Donnell.
Danny Campbell.
Justin Krofchak.
And it's a damn good time. We're relaxing and having a cool Sunday. What is this, an afternoon? It's just breaking on 2 o'clock. It's around a high of 26, and I think we're going to have ourselves a relaxing nighttime. Doesn't look like any clouds forming.
It's going to be one of those nice classic summer nights. I got that feeling. I hope I'm not wrong about that.
And a good summer feeling is actually what I wanted to talk to you guys about, because it seems like you guys have set out an EP that will really set the tone for the summer vibes. So can you guys tell me a little something about it, and what does Frank Reynolds bring to the table? In fact, like just give us a little intro before you even get into the music.
Well, we're Frank Reynolds. We're a band that goes by the name of one man, which is confusing to a lot of people. Once you get to know us, you realize that we're more than one man. We're actually 4. Unfortunately, our bassist couldn't be here with us today. He's being represented by this rat that you have here, this plastic rat with a squeaker.
And who is that we have just squeaked?
Daniel Drover.
Daniel, we are representing you with a little squeaky rat for now. So anytime Daniel needs to speak up, that's what you'll hear.
It's kind of like having him around. It's not that different. So we set out to do this EP. We recorded it with absolutely no budget. Danny Campbell did all our mixing and mastering with his education and expertise. And we wanted to just kind of encapsulate power, energy, stage presence. All of these songs, I think, hit different emotional corners. But I think the consistency between all of them is that there is an energy. And a lot of our techniques and how we've come to writing or finishing up all these songs, they really have all kind of been their own journey. But they all share that same sort of heart, that power. And when we get up there and play, we got people grooving, and we leave it all out on the field. And I think there's a little bit of that spirit that's captured in our CD.
Wow. So it's really a matter of vibes, putting out the good energy, putting in the good effort.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's different kind of genres that we draw from too. And I think a lot of, every song I can confidently say, is pretty unique.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 like influences that you'll be able to hear throughout basically each.
You guys feel like this is your own personal authentic sound?
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's very true to form. And yeah, I think going back to that, using the word consistency again, I think rather than being bound so much by a particular genre or a particular style of songwriting, there is more just an energy, the on stage ripping on your instruments and giving it all you got. I think you'll hear that in every song, even though the songs themselves sound different.
So that's the personal side of Frank Reynolds. What's the more physical side of Frank Reynolds? Say if somebody who had never seen you guys walks up to wherever location or whatever kind of venue you guys are just lighting up, what do they physically see? Who are you guys as a group? Quattro, including a squeaky rat. What do you guys have as far as your musical collective in terms of instruments and presentation for a roundabout show that you do?
Yeah, it's just like a simple 4-piece. You know, we kind of started as like the power trio, if you call it like that, like guitar, bass, drums. And then when we decided we wanted to kind of, you know, like authenticize it and like become like a real band, we needed the vocals. And so I think like a power quattro is a good.
A power quattro. I like
power quattro is a good way to describe
Slick
us.
quattro.
But when people see us, it's just it's pretty simple. Just 4 guys just on their own instruments, no like backup singers or backup guitarists, just kind of. And I think we've got like a pretty good dynamic too, where we're set up in each section of the band.
And you guys also have, when it comes to what Justin there said, no budget. So this is really like just a slap together personal side of what you authentically hear in any location where you perform. There's no special effects, anything extra thrown in. This is,
and that
you put it to a recorder and this is what you got.
Yeah.
That can always be a selling point too. You know, it's a cool thing to say that you did this with no budget. And it's, you know, that can be the headline of an article. But I think we're also kind of we're pretty far now into an age where people seek that kind of stuff out. And I think it's not so much a challenge like it used to be able to do something with no budget.
I mean, look at all the equipment people have openly to use nowadays.
No, the whole thing was done in Danny's basement.
Yeah. So I recorded it in a room smaller than this studio.
For real?
Just with whatever equipment I had around.
How'd you soundproof it?
We didn't really.
You had a few blankets on the wall.
Yeah. I put a few blankets just to absorb some of the reflections because it's not a good sounding room by any means. But we essentially just tried to get an accurate representation of our sound. So it was essentially as if we were just practicing in the basement. We did add a couple little, some whipped cream and cherries on top. We added another guitar track just because people are used to certain sounds on radios.
Yeah.
Like they're used to the wide guitar, bigger, like larger than life sound. So even though we only have one guitarist, we did add double tracks for some parts. Nothing that
wouldn't obviously kind of be picked up.
You'd hear it and you just think, this is
nothing that's. I think kind of like in like a
sometimes you don't realize you're hearing a vocal track being doubled a lot of the time, and that's very, very common.
Yeah, almost. In most music, like the chorus will always be double tracked. Guitars will be double tracked, even quad tracked. Yeah, with effects. We double tracked one chorus on the Dig It song.
And Expectations,
and then
too.
On the end of Expectations, we did just a little harmony.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with recording is you want to make it... Like, if you see someone live, they could be great, and that's awesome, and then that's kind of the end of that show. But with a recording, it needs longevity, so you kind of need to have something else to capture the audience's attention. But I still say it's a accurate representation of what we sound like.
And I think as an art form, there's an important distinction between recording to capture the spirit of a live album and to record an experiment and to create a world or to create an album. And I think we found
discussing this earlier, you said it's not so much a concept album, it's more of an authentic album.
I think that if there was a concept to it, some kind of middle ground between the accessibility and convenience of recording, but also the power that you feel from a live performance. I think that has been captured in this CD.
Well, it's self-titled, Frank Reynolds. Is it what is it? I always mix it. LP, EP.
It's actually, we've given it the name of the last track, Planet Zeno. So if you were to look it up on streaming services, it would be called Planet Zeno.
And you spelled that Xeno. Planet Zeno. Why don't we give them a taste of what Planet Zeno has to offer? Because it seems like we've been talking about it so long. I just want to hear a little bit what we're talking about.
Let's get into the meat. Of course.
So, what would you say is the most raw track from Planet Zeno? That one that really, no effects, has the most, or let's say the least amount of playing with it. Just it was cut and dry, exactly as it sounds.
I would say Expectations almost. Expectations or maybe Dig It. I'm not sure.
So let's set their expectations high with Expectations from Frank Reynolds on CFRE 91.9.
I've played with expectations, no caution to the wind. Been living in my penthouse, complacency my sin. white bone dead as pepper. Time now begins to mine. Now hold me close and tell me that you'll never leave. Some big airplane will take us somewhere far across the sea.
You are listening to CFRE 91.9. I'm your host, DJ Funky, or you can call me The Chunk. And I'm here with Frank Reynolds. What you just heard was Expectations. I hope it raised your expectations for this band because they've got a whole lot more in store for you. In fact, we're touching upon it. These guys came out with a beautiful album, beautiful concept art, and just a damn good time with your Planet Xeno. Can y'all tell me a little bit about what the hell Planet Xeno is?
Planet Xeno would be an example of one of the songs where everyone kind of did their own thing and wrote their own stuff. And so I know you guys, Kyle, Danny, and Daniel, came up with a really good riff and instrumental and track, and I kind of went with the lyrics. And so I was reading a book at the time when I wrote this song. I'm a bit of a comic aficionado, you could say that, and I was reading a book called Black Hole by Charles Burns. It's a pretty gnarly concept where it's set in Seattle in the 1970s, and an STD starts spreading around the school, and if you catch the STD, you start to like mutate, and so these kids all around the school are like their fucking like skin is melting off, or they're growing horns and shit, and it's pretty brutal. And so the main character is this kid and his friends, they're all fucking losers, and they go and they hang out and they smoke weed in Planet Xeno, which is what they've named this little clearing in the ravine, and it ends up later in the story being a refuge where a lot of the infected kids end up going. And I just thought that was metal as fuck. And it was very much on the metal as hell, and I thought it was very much on the docket when I was looking for some creative influences.
That actually is so metal too. You said their skin falls off?
One of the girls, man, she like.
And this is an STD. Wow, the idea of society being plagued by its own pleasures, and this is something that you put together for the Planet Xeno. Are you guys speaking for the sake of awareness, just for the sake of?
There's no. We're not coming at you with some politically charged message.
Ontario.
I'm just twisting. I'm playing around. Don't worry.
We don't have some agenda here.
Health Canada.
Health Canada. Yeah. No, I saw like what I saw when I read that was like
That sounds awesome.
You know,
What
artistic.
was the name of the artist?
Black Hole by Charles Burns. It's a
Wow.
yeah. It's a good one. I think that it's about 10 years old now or something. But I read that, and the whole vibe that I picked up, or my interpretation of it, was like just the shame of growing up and doing those kinds of things in high school. You know, like someone starts to grow up and do something, and then they're marked, and everyone sees them like that. And you can't really,
in a small town especially.
In a small town, yeah, and you can't really wipe those things away, whether they're good or they're bad.
If you're seen as a loser or something that isn't gonna be like too kind to associate with, and that follows you through social group to social group, especially in one that like never seems to really change.
Yeah,
it's just your identity at that point. It's not fair. And I think that we've all suffered with that a little bit in our lives, especially being young people that go to school and still institutions, considering we are millennials and we'll either be in school or in debt forever. Now there's a politically charged message.
Yeah, we're opening up a tangent there, but yeah,
right?
it's hard, man. It's tough.
Do you guys offer a little bit of escape and solace to those that deal with those kinds of things?
I think if you like listening to music that lets you vent, and if you like whipping around and getting wild in your room. I don't know. I'm just imagining some kid getting all angsty and listen to that, and like having an emotional release. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know. Well, you know, we appeal to other people too, I guess. But no, I don't know. I saw a cool story, I liked it, and then we had a cool riff, and I thought, oh, two cool things that go together. There's no real, like I said, we're not charged with some idea or philosophy. It's just cool, man.
It's a really cool idea, and maybe somebody listening to this down the road will like make some conspiracy connections based off the connections you just made in this interview.
Oh shit! I don't know.
Who knows? Ooh, yeah. And so, tell me a little bit more about when it comes to some of these names: Heavy Gigging, Digit, Control, Expectations, and Planet Xeno. Do you think to yourself maybe that you're trying to like put together some sort of feel-good vibe for the summer in its times, because it seems to be very upbeat and happy, but at the same time, like it seems like they have some heavy kind of tones to them.
Yeah, well,
it's a mix of both.
Yeah, I don't think we were like aiming for summer, but it's kind of nice that it's turned out that way.
Yeah.
Like
it really did.
Yeah,
I mean, it would be great if people keep listening to us through fall as well, right?
Oh, that's true.
It's a good year.
And, well, speaking of the fall and future seasons and possibly albums, is this it for Frank and Reynolds? Are you guys one and done, or are we going to be seeing more from you guys?
This is testing the waters, man.
Yeah. Oh, this is just getting a vibe.
Oh yeah,
this is just getting something out there that people can find on Spotify, on iTunes, and if they hear us at a show, they go, "Oh, I like that work, and I hear more of them." Now that's something that we have available.
And so, do you think that based off of this, you're going to take it into any other direction? Maybe Drover has a little bit to say on that. No,
that's enough. That's enough.
Well, I agree with Drover.
That's
I
a
think.
good point, actually. I would consider that.
Yeah.
That's enough.
You bet your buns we ain't done. We got a lot. We got a lot to do, and I think we're testing the waters is definitely the right way to put it, because every show we're kind of seeing how do people react, what kind of stuff do people like, what songs are they enjoying. I think because there's a diversity in all these songs, I think we've been surprised that. I think every track on this CD, we've had someone come up to us separately and say, that's my favorite song, or I've heard it a few times, I love it. And I think we're kind of at this stage now where we're starting to get good, consistent feedback every time we go out and we play, for a lot of different reasons. And I think, that shit just amps you up, right? Like that, it makes us want to, like, if that's what we're getting out of this, and playing those songs, where can we take this next?
Absolutely. Oh man. And what's it feel to really set the vibe, set the tone? You know, when you really catch people, when you get people moving, what's it feel to like when you know fun. You hit that into somebody?
It's just fun. Like I just like laugh kind of.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch. Like we played a house party last night.
No way. Last night.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little more.
For a friend of ours, and
you would have loved it, dude. It was cartoon themed. Everyone had to dress as cartoon characters.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
It was a great time. We had like a list of our originals, and when we got about 10 or 11 covers that we did, And it was a great time. There's one, no, but what you were saying about like catching like the audience, whenever there's like one guy that'll just be like up in the front, just like thrashing around, that's like the best feeling ever. Just to look up and you seeing that guy, like he's fucking in it.
I think you got
he's
like the trance, in a state of trance is very long tied into music and the relationship between the performer and the audience. And I mean, I know when we grew up playing like around Oakville and stuff too, there was always a couple, like one or two guys that would give you everything when you're playing and just mosh around, and we always appreciate that. And I think we like to stir up that kind of energy. And you get, I mean, because I don't play an instrument, I have to move around too. I don't get to just stand there. And I'm a big guy, and I'm not a ballet dancer. But when we really get that, you start to get into this like trance, where you're bopping around, I'm jumping around, people are jumping in front of me, smiling, and it's like it's an elation. It's very much, I know what it means for someone to say they're in my element when we're playing up on stage.
So it's just matching the feel and really making people express themselves in ways that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise, because I think that's what you guys are really meant to like establish is the feeling amongst everybody, in no matter whether it be a house party, a local bar, or something along the lines that I'm sure you guys set the pace and the rhythm. Who knows, maybe even create opportunities with the type of music you make.
There's a lot of places to go out and have fun, and you get people all the time coming out on their weekends or on days in the week. And I think people like to seek out that escape. And if you can get up for 15-20 minutes and dance your butt off and lose a sense of time and just go nuts, it's like exercise, or it's like meditation or something, but way gnarlier, you know?
Yeah,
and I like to
think not falling asleep like you are in meditation.
I like to think that we among with many other good bands in the area, and we're not the only ones that can do it, but to be able to deliver that feeling, that emotion, that atmosphere, I think we've done an okay job of that so far.
Do you guys meditate?
I do a little bit of mindfulness.
I do not. I've tried once and I get bored. Not for me.
No, me neither. I don't think I've tried. Curious about it, but I've never really gotten into it.
One can say prayer is a form of meditation. So
that's true.
In a state of prayer, that's like meditation doesn't have to be a 2-hour long sleepy
Yeah, you don't have to be like standing.
I really think
be your bus ride,
cross-legged.
I think everyone meditates. I think there's meditation as a practice, and then there's meditation as just a human. What's the word? A human trait. I think everyone meditation in the definition of like
straight.
Like doing something that you enjoy, or where maybe you lose a little sense of time, or like browsing the internet after work can be meditation. It's maybe not quite as refined, or not with a goal in mind. But I think anytime
before a big game, sitting down, keeping his
you just have like that moment to yourself.
I used to play hockey, and you get like a kid who would sit there and listen to Eminem and be angry for 10 minutes. That's meditation, as far as I'm concerned.
And you know what? I'm sure that you guys, whether you know it or not, maybe it's quietly as you sip your beers before you go up, but when you sit down and you just take a moment, maybe even to tune your guitar or whatever you're doing, I'm sure you guys do a little bit of meditation right before you perform.
Just to get in the zone.
Right? Getting in that mental state. Nobody can just night and day turn it on. You guys, I bet, take a second. Do you guys have a pre-show ritual?
No, I was actually thinking about that the other day. We don't really have anything. We just
start building that up.
That'd be cool.
Set up and we play. We don't
really have too many of those rituals. I think we find our own, and we got to get on that. We got to get a little.
First time I ever seen you guys was in Hamilton. It was called the Door or something. Like
Doors
that.
Pub. Doors Metal and Taco Bar.
It's a metal and a taco bar.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite place in Hamilton because it makes no sense. Because
it's such a cool place.
Those two worlds I never would have thought collided. But it's an old house.
Yeah.
Created into a downstairs like bar vibe, but has tacos available, and on the upstairs a place for bands to perform like yourselves. And so why this venue?
I think we were just asked to play that one, like that show. I think that was to a friend of ours, I think. But that was one of the first ones we were doing in Hamilton, and we had a couple more at the Doors. Just a great place to play.
I feel lucky that I seen you guys' first Hamilton show because that was absolutely killer. Went up there, it was a good group of people, but you know what kind of caught my eye is some people like, because you guys have a different kind of pace, a little different kind of vibe. They were afraid to dance to it. I was like jiggling in my spot. That's what I do. But I didn't want to get too rowdy or jump around because sometimes you guys have some jumpers, and I feel like I wanted it to do a little bit of moshing myself. Do you guys ever have any mosh pits or anything like that?
Mosh pits?
We'll have like a
little-
group of guys
little
up
minis.
the front just kind of going wild.
We've had moshers.
Moshers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always those guys that like to shove around.
Yeah, I don't think we're
Remember,
quite the style to have a full pit.
Hey,
No.
yeah, but then
No
we went
wall
to
with
what do we see when we were in our high school band? We saw a Two-Door Cinema Club.
Oh,
that was like
crazy.
Irish indie pop, and there was a mosh pit at that show. I just didn't see that coming. I guess any band can stir up that energy.
That's what I'm saying. If you can stir up that energy.
No, but
Jason
speaking
Derulo
of
mosh pits, baby.
Speaking of mosh pits, yesterday at those two guys were just like smashing beer cans on their head during one of their beer was just like spraying all over. I thought it was raining, and I see like just like guys like smashing.
When I went to school, we called that game Bay Bay Ho. I don't know why, but you would say Bay Bay Ho, and you'd hit the can on your head 3 times. I'd never found out what that meant, but it was very fun to say.
Baby, what does that mean?
I don't know, man.
Well, you know what? I think that you guys can start one if you really wanted to, but it doesn't match. Like you said, this vibe is more of like a good kind of, could be summer chill vibe, could be just a good vibe, but either way, it's a kind of album that promotes good vibrations and no reason to punch somebody in the face or throw a child or a child-sized person.
We certainly wouldn't be promoting that at any of our shows.
Exactly. And
No
so,
infantile violence.
So, what I actually wanted to ask you guys is, what is, aside from mosh pits and stuff like that, what's the crazy, like beer crushing, making it rain on the equipment that you shouldn't really be touching? But what's the craziest thing that's happened at one of your shows / house parties, kind of gigs that you guys throw?
I don't think hasn't been anything too outrageous.
It's all been pretty tame so far.
Oh, for real?
I think so.
I'm so happy to hear that because sometimes those are the dangerous
Definitely,
ones.
yeah. Nothing dangerous.
Just
Like,
people really getting into it and having fun. That's pretty well.
yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, no real emergency incidents. That's for sure.
Yeah. Haven't seen any blood.
Oh, that's good.
No, not yet. It's too
It
early.
depends on what you're going for, but yeah.
Okay.
For us, it's probably not good.
I'm glad that now we have confirmed that your shows are safe and worth visiting
Yes.
and checking out. In fact, I can personally vouch for that because that was one heck of a good show in Hamilton. You guys have any more shows lined up? Any stuff that people can get rowdy but not too crazy at?
Yeah, the big one is this Tuesday, the 29th, at the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto.
This Tuesday, the 29th, the Horseshoe Tavern.
Presented by Indie 88. It's their new music night where it's no cover.
You just come on in.
It starts at 8. I think doors are at 8:30. We're on at about 8:40. There's about 4
Kicking her off.
kind of young bands, and they just showcase them just for free. So that's a big one.
Bless up on that. But
Foot in the door kind of show.
you know what? Indie 88 is somebody that's a little too... They're a little too... let's say Toronto. Let's try and keep in this saga here. You guys are on CFRE 91.9. Let me show you what we do out here. When we have a good show, we're going to throw not only a free one, we'll pay the people to show up.
-5 cover.
Yeah, -5. Yeah, exactly. That's the joke I was going with. But you know what? It's something that I can't wait to check out. And I think that everybody else is going to have a grand old time too. What do you think is the most upbeat track that you guys have?
Probably heavy gigging.
Yeah.
Heavy gig?
I mean, upbeat, like
Upbeat, yeah, that could mean different things.
yeah, like happy, or you mean like fast, like
oh,
How about
energy-wise.
this?
Energy
Victor, can I ask you a question?
Shoot away, man.
Give me a scenario in which you'd be like, I'm ready to listen to a song. Like an emotion or an activity, or what would you be doing?
Okay, so for my particular vibe, I'd like to have myself a scenario where I'm finishing a taco, having a dark beer, and being somewhere deep in Hamilton, and just wanting to just jam around and wave my arms and have a good time. Is that heavy gigging?
That sounds like heavy gigging.
Well, then here's heavy gigging, only on CFRE 91.9. that was heavy gigging, and boy, oh boy, did I feel like I was step into that track. Honestly, I think I actually do recall when you guys lit the show up with that one. I really like what you guys have, and I think I'm gonna be a big fan for the next one too. But I'm curious if it's gonna be the same format, because it's, to my knowledge, that you've acquired some pretty gnarly varieties of instruments when it comes to an organ, perhaps.
Oh man, well that's kind of my own. Yeah,
Do you think you'd be able to use that organ for? Actually, first, can you please just tell us how you managed to get this organ?
Yeah, well, I am definitely primarily a singer. Instruments and the like are more hobbies for me. I was in Ottawa with some buddies. We were actually seeing the Sheepdogs play.
Hey, shout out to the Sheepdogs.
And I we were in the Mill Street pub in Ottawa and drinking some Sheepdog beer.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a Sheepdog sponsored brew that they were doing, and we're just shooting the stuff. And I was talking about Corey Henry. He's a organ keyboardist player, prodigy, man, that plays with Snarky Puppy. And
big shout outs to Corey Henry.
And he just rips it on the organ. And so I was talking about that, and we're all pretty well versed in music. All those buddies of mine, one who knew a little less, he's like, what is a... I was talking about the Hammond organs, and he's like, what exactly is that? And we were kind of telling him about how Hammond organs, what they are, that they're organs, and the Leslie cabinets, those are like the swirling cabinets that create that kind of like, what would you call that, like a tremolo effect?
Yeah, that really like echoing kind of.
Yeah. Anyway, just nothing too deep, not getting into the nitty gritty of it, but enough to let my buddy Phil know what a Hammond was. And he went to this, he lives in Montreal, and he works at a kind of like a Salvation Army store kind of place. And like 2 days later, and this Hammond organ just rolls right in, and no one wants it. So text me, he says, do you want a Hammond organ? I'm like, oh, wow, okay.
Why not?
Definitely keeping that in mind, I mean, like I said, instruments are hobbies for me. I play harmonica on one of our tracks, which isn't on this CD. It's a newer track of ours. And guitar on another, which is also recent since.
So we already have begun to introduce a new variety of instruments.
Yeah, a little bit. And the organ is definitely something we've kept in mind, because that rock organ sound is great.
Would you guys be into a more soulful kind of vibe if you start to introduce a little something like that?
I don't know if we'd change the whole sound, but I could definitely see a few songs.
Yeah.
Because I could see you guys are more than talented enough to really slap together.
I don't think we're quite so liable to make a big genre shift or tone, but I think we're constantly dropping little influences or new ideas into songs. And yeah, like kind of like we were discussing, that every song sort of has its own vibe. Like you listen to Dig It is the second track on that CD, and that kind of has more of like a Rage Against the Machine, kind of like a hip-hop vibe, which doesn't really compare to a lot of the other songs that we play. But I think for instrumentation and finding new instruments is a very promising avenue to experiment and change your tone. And it's always been a thing for me that I've loved collecting instruments whenever it's economically viable, and I love to play around, and if we practice, we play around, we find new things to do. I don't know, we don't quite know what's on the horizon. We're still in that planning stages.
There's a couple different branches we can follow.
And because you guys mentioned the idea of genre shifting and moving within the idea of what you guys have. So you guys have an idea of what you sound like. You have an idea of where you're going to take it. Would you put a label to it yet? A genre, an idea, and like kind of...
It's hard.
Yeah, it is kind of hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to sound pretentious, because it's like you can't...
But you gotta know who you are, right?
Mm-hmm. It's hard if you say, because people will always ask, what band would you compare yourself to?
Oh, that's the worst.
And that's difficult, because you can say, I can think of a million bands that we can compare ourselves to, and people, usually when people ask that question, you're expecting a quick idea, like what can I relate this to, and how can I think, without even having to listen to you, what category do you fall into? And I think genres and the barriers of genres have been broken down and are more transparent than ever. I think with YouTube, with Spotify, with the access that we have to content, it's very, and even if you look at like Rock Band or Guitar Hero and how a lot of people our age, even if you weren't a rocker or falling into any metal or any category, you could have a good knowledge and mental repertoire of music spanning all kinds of genres. And I think it's important to us that you don't box yourself in, because as soon as you start to do that, then you can come up with something great and dismiss it. And I know in my own creative processes, I'm very quick to dismiss things that I Danny spends a lot of time sitting down and working, listening to the same stuff over and over. And it's hard to keep listening to that and see what you saw in it initially. And yeah, I think
that's definitely, when it comes to the appeal, it's not just something that you want to appeal within yourself. I bet like the vibe of the audience and the listeners are definitely something that can dictate how you view things. Earlier off mic, we were discussing how just the idea of social media platforms can have a heavy influence on how a band even keeps itself up. So do you guys think in any ways, because let's be honest, there are two worlds that we exist in. Is the social like network that we've developed over the years versus a now more personal, physical network that is kind of being undermined. The face-to-face value, seeing somebody live in a show. Do you guys let certain dictations from the audience live at shows and off social media, depending on how you want to appeal to them, sometimes slightly alter how you sound, how you put together music? Because we all sometimes care about what people think and how it's not just about what we think as far as how you want to categorize yourself for a particular genre. How do you let a certain type of audience, or how much do you let it affect you to the point where you feel like sometimes you'd be either catering in some senses and other senses completely ignoring and actively knowing that you're doing such?
The only thing I could think of is we want to keep it interesting. We want to keep all the songs that we're doing interesting, not only for us, so we're not doing like the same 4 chords the entire time, but so that the audience doesn't get bored over the same chorus over and over again. We try and throw in different sections or slow down the drums. Like the new one that's not on the CD, it gets it's really fast paced, but it slows down and really hits hard, and it picks back up again, and stuff like that. Those kind of dynamic changes I think are important.
Yeah, you got to keep up with it as an audience member. It forces you to stay engaged. Not forces, because ideally you're not being forced into enjoying something like that.
I mean, you could strap them down and give them listening sessions.
That's the next album we're going to be doing.
That's it.
Yeah, that's our tour. That's our tour. Everyone's got to sit in a chair and braces and just sit there and listen.
The next show you have will kind of be like the Austin Powers, like a Dr. Evil kind of thing. The second they sit down in the chairs, they get locked in.
Yeah. We have a big red button on stage.
It's like, do you prefer that people are dancing or seated around maybe tables or something when they watch you guys?
Dance.
It's always fun to see them dance, but as long as you can tell they're enjoying it in some way, they're bobbing their head.
Yeah,
just kind of
like when we were playing the party last night. Like you can't expect every single person at a party of however many people to all be up there at the front, because I'm not that kind of guy. If I go to concerts and shows, even bands that I'm crazy about, I mean, there's always exceptions. I saw Arcade Fire one time, and my friends had never seen me dance or sweat like that in my life. But even bands I love, you dance for 2 or 3 songs, and with my cardio level, you want to go have a water or a beer or something. And I think, we're not, talking about the mosh pit. It's not like you're here to go nuts and lose your mind and rip people's skins off their face. It's like, no, you can go in and you can go nuts and you can have a fun time and you can get all that emotional and physical release that you want to a certain extent, or you can go chill and you can hang in the back, talk with your friends, and listen to us play. And I think you can do whatever you want. And it's up to them. And I don't think we've
you don't want
felt
to be
much pressure to cater to people's expectations.
Yeah, you don't want to be the type of guy or the type of performance that goes, everybody put up your hands, everybody come on, put up those hands,
everyone come here,
we're never chasing that,
come on. Yeah, it's like I guess you're just there for background noise, but at the same time, you want to be engaged enough that you're not ignored but recognized.
Yeah, it depends like what we're playing. Like in terms of like playing a party, like we know we're not, the main. Like, people are there to have a good time and drink, and then the band's like an added-on thing versus playing a show. Like, people are there to see the bands play. So that, in terms of like catering our sound to like a party audience, we were adding in some covers that maybe we wouldn't have done at another live show. We threw in like a Miley Cyrus cover.
No way.
Yeah.
Some country too.
Which track?
We did Party in the USA. And then we also did a song called Homegrown by Zach Brown Band.
Oh, I like that band.
Yeah. I've never really, first time I ever sang country for more than a car full of friends as a joke. It was fun. And like I said, it was a cartoon party. So there was a Woody in the audience. So I brought his cowboy hat. It was a beautiful thing.
I was wondering.
Now, when you said there was a Woody in the audience, I got another impression.
No, you were right. Yeah, what you were thinking.
Well, the clue there is I didn't use the plurals.
It's different ways to cater to different audiences, I guess.
Hey, like I said, you can mosh, you can sit in the back, or you can do whatever you want.
Do whatever, whether you're in the back. Who cares?
Heavy gigging.
And you know what? I think that it's time that our audience, take some time to realize that there's some important and very personal things that haunt me and I always think about all the time. I'm going to now play a PSA that really perfectly describes this, because a public service announcement is an absolutely necessary time to just remind society that it's not all about them, and that maybe, just maybe, Sam Elliott needs to tell you what to do with your life, especially concerning grizzly bears. Here's a quick little PSA break for everybody that's enjoying themselves out there.
Grizzly bears are fighting for survival in the northern Rocky Mountains. For grizzlies to thrive, they must travel safely between protected habitats. But the pathways connecting these areas are being lost to development. The Vital Ground Foundation is protecting and restoring these critical lands. To find out how you can help, visit www.vitalground.org. Where the grizzly can walk, the earth is healthy and whole.
And you are listening to CFRE 91.9. I hope y'all are enjoying yourselves. I'm here joined by the one and only Frank Reynolds. Is he a man? No. No. Is he a squeaky rat? Well, just one of Frank Reynolds is. Thank you, Drover. And I think that we have quite the power quattro indeed here, minus the Drover. It's a collective. It's a group of young men that are trying to make a positive influence through a positive sound, and at the same time give you a real authentic vibe of what's on their mind and what's beating in their hearts. I'm going to give you guys a quick taste of what Frank Reynolds has to offer, considering he's a man that gives, especially at your local taverns, such as the Horseshoe Tavern, coming this May 29th.
Correct.
At the Horseshoe Tavern, you can have yourselves a drink, a good time, and maybe even come talk to them and relax. What time was it at, gentlemen?
Doors are at 8:30.
Doors are 8:30. And I don't mean to put too much expectation, but they have an album called Planet Xeno, and here's the title track. And I think it's going to really take you somewhere out of this world.
Something good, black light spreading, manifesting as it would. Going to Planet Xeno, all with the boys we know how to be a winner.
Canada's first radio Arendelle. You're listening to CFRE 91.9, and we are joined by the very talented, very good-looking Frank Reynolds. He's not just one man. He's 3 people and a rat. And they are all in this room. Hello. How are you guys? What's going on? How you feeling? Please introduce yourselves to the audience one more time, just to give them a good idea of who you are and what they're going to be expecting from this collective.
This is Kyle Donnell.
Danny Campbell.
I'm Justin Kravchik. I think we should tell them what instruments we play, so that when they see us on stage, they're like, "Oh, that's Kyle."
So paint them a visual novel.
Okay, I'm a guy, stand about 6'2", and I play the guitar. And that's about it.
I'm a hairy guy that sits behind the drum set.
I'm a tall guy. I'm taller. I'm taller than Kyle, and I'm definitely taller than Danny.
Bring that out.
Yeah, I'm a little taller. Yeah. And I sing. I move and I shake in the front of the stage.
And Jorver's a rat who plays bass.
And I am the Chunk, or DJ Funky. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to call myself. But either way, I'm interviewing you guys, asking you guys, trying to figure out what this beautiful album is. Planet Xeno, titled album by Frank Reynolds, is in some ways progressive rock, in some ways kind of got a jazzy vibe to it, and in other ways it's got that alternative feel. It's something that is beyond genre, but is starting to find itself within the mold of a proper and true band with these young gentlemen. I'm really happy to be joined by you guys this lovely Sunday afternoon. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having us.
CFRE.
Yeah, thanks.
So, as we leave it on a final note for this wonderful little chill session we had, and I would love for you guys to come in for an acoustic session, by the way, if you guys are ever down for that.
Always.
Just know that our door is open. Could you tell us a little last piece of interesting information you want people to know when they listen to, purchase, or take the time to stream Planet Xeno?
You're listening to 4 people. I want to return to saying in my element, or in our element. I think all 4 of us are very competent and practiced at what we do. And I think there's a good chemistry that goes a long way. I think if you want the energy and power and charisma of a live show, and you want to be able to listen to that in your car rolling down the highway, or chilling in the backyard while Dad's cooking up a steak on the barbecue, it's good for anything. It's good, honest rock and roll, and it's 4 guys working hard to get you grooving.
Yeah.
Dang, 4 guys get you grooving. How can you promise to deliver on this? You guys got a show coming up at Horseshoe Tavern, 29th of May. Anywhere else you'll be popping up around Ontario, or is this a one and done gig? Come on, tell me, boys.
No,
I want to see Frank Reynolds on the move out here.
So we've got May 29th at the Horseshoe. We've got June 9th. June 9th in Guelph at the ANAF.
It's Army, Navy, and Air Force. I was going to say base, but that's not right.
No, it's a veterans. It's like
a veterans
club.
Community or center, veterans center. So we'll be rocking their socks off. We're playing with a band, a good buddy of mine. One of my best friend's sisters and best friend growing up. They're playing in a band together. They're called the Breaking English. And they do a lot of really cool covers and stuff, and they wear Hawaiian shirts, and they're a fun group of people. So they invited us out to play that show in Guelph.
Cool.
So we've got tickets for that one. I think they're about $10 a piece or something like that.
How can people get into contact with this? You guys have?
We've got Facebook and Instagram, Frank Reynolds Band on Facebook, Instagram.
Facebook page is probably the best one-stop shop for information.
Frank Reynolds Band. Okay.
And then we've got June 10th in Toronto at the Painted Lady.
June 10th.
Playing with a band called Foolish from Montreal. They're like a reggae rock trio.
Foolish.
Does
the name suit the title?
We'll find out.
I guess we have to find out.
Ooh,
We're in for it.
Wow, so you guys have never met these guys before?
No, it was just a message through a mutual friend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's the good connections. It's the brewing of the good boys of the band days. Oh, man. I'm looking forward to seeing if this is going to be a complete rock fest or maybe it's going to be a chill vibe. You know, you can get a little handful of both. Sometimes bands with like... Wait, have you heard these guys in music before? You said they were reggae type vibe?
I heard like a little bit of it. I didn't really get into it.
Might completely surprise you. You. What if they're opening up the floor to something you might not be anticipating?
Well, we're opening, so we can just...
Oh, so you guys are the ones who set the tone.
Yeah, that's us.
Ooh, even better.
Raise the bar.
Raise the bar. It's like, okay, Frank Reynolds just set the stage. What if you upstage and they totally bomb? Have you ever thought about that? It's not your problem, eh?
No.
Not my problem.
Ivan Dragunov, if he dies, he dies.
That's not.
But really, it's not.
You have a hard time.
It's true.
I think you'd have a hard time playing a show like in Toronto or Hamilton or wherever. Not just these places, but wherever you're playing, there's always everyone's got their own thing, and we're not going to run into another Frank Reynolds and. These guys Foolish probably aren't going to run into another Foolish if they're good enough and put enough effort into it. And I think every band has their own flair, some stronger than others. But I don't like to think of it as upstaging. Just give it the best you got, and then let the guys after you give it the best they've got, and they can exist on their own planes of giving it all they got in us. You know,
no matter if we're closing or we're opening, we're going to be playing at 105% or whatever.
106 or something. Yeah.
It's more than 100.
We got a window.
107, relax.
I like it. And should anybody remember anything or keep in mind for when new stuff from Frank Reynolds is coming out? Anything they should be anticipating or looking forward to, y'all?
Just some good tunes.
Just the shows, yeah. You can follow us on Spotify. If you search up Frank Reynolds, you can be in the loop if we put up any more stuff. We're on Apple Music and Google Play and the rest.
Put it on at your next barbecue.
Ooh, put it on. There's your challenge. Set the tone. Put it on in the next barbecue. Flip a few steaks and feel good about yourself. I like this. Frank Reynolds, thank you so much for coming through, guys. This has been a quick little interview. Nothing short of 60 minutes with a quick breakdown of what it's like to see these guys. So why don't you come and do it? Frank Reynolds, thanks for coming through, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vic. Drover, say thank you.